Hey everyone, Rick here, and folks, welcome back to Battlefields of Mana. This is day 7 of the 31-day Battle Report Challenge, and we've got a lot to discuss. Taking a look at the map, we can see where we've been, but we can't see where we're going, so that is the next decision to be made. And as we know, if you've seen the prior battle, especially the last battle, number 6 here, now that we have been numbering them so we can kind of get a chronological order of events. In Prosperity Village, number 6 was the last battle to have taken place where the Regal Guard have been victorious. Notice the Lunar Knights. They've been victorious in smaller forests, marauder camps, village ruins. The Regal Guard has a trend of being successful in more large, grandiose locations, like the Forest of Arcadia in Battle 1, or the Prosperity Village, shades of civilization. So now we're going to find out where Battle 7 is going to take place. And who knows, I don't want to jump to any conclusions here, but that may actually provide us a hint on who will fare better. So let's go ahead and roll it up. Where are we going? Oh my gosh, here we go, folks. This is one we've been waiting on. Number 3, the City of Sympathy. And that is the large city. So you'll notice, what do we have? City of Sympathy is this location here. And the next smallest dock would be Stoldark Township. Okay, so yeah, this is it right here. Oh my gosh, this is super exciting. City of Sympathy is a Tier 2. Here is Tier 2, and we've rolled a 4. 24 points in the City of Sympathy. All right, folks, that means we need to clear this table, get some terrain in place, and we'll be right back with terrain. All right, folks, and here it is, the City of Sympathy, and we finally got to break out some more fancy terrain. Cobblestone battle mat, little fountain there, of course, a church, which when I just used Incarnate map tool to make this, and the city includes what looks like a cathedral or a church in the center, and I just happen to have this one, so I'm like, okay, that works out perfectly. This is a miniature building authority 15 mil church. It has some features that allow it to be ruined, so that's pretty cool, mostly for like World War II gaming, and it just looks absolutely fantastic amongst these alternative armies buildings, is what those 4 buildings on the outsides are. And then this building over here is also a miniature building authority building, and you can get inside. That's one of the hallmarks of their stuff, is that a lot of it you can get right into, which is fantastic. So this is the City of Sympathy, and it's gonna be hard to maneuver when you have this much terrain, but I was able to follow the terrain placement rules, including, the 5-inch between the deployment zone and the buildings, as well as 3 inches at least from the other board edge, and of course 3 inches in between all of the terrain features, as long as I don't bump anything. So that's absolutely perfect, because of course unit movement templates are just about 3 inches wide, so they will be able to fit in between all of the buildings. This is going to be very interesting. So rules for the buildings, of course, are simply that they do block movement, they do block line of sight. This fountain blocks movement, but not line of sight. So pretty simple overall. All right, 24 points means these are going to be some pretty hefty armies, but we have to keep in mind, I should say, the hypothetical players here have to keep in mind the restrictions that all of these buildings and all of this terrain imposes. So we'll see what the quote-unquote players choose when we come back with deployment. All right, folks, and here is deployment. Who would have thought that day 7, the 1-week anniversary of beginning this 31-day battle report challenge, we would have such an epic confrontation. All right, so how should we do this? Well, let's start with the ones who will be going first. The Regal Guard rolled higher, so they deployed first, and they will get the first turn. So here is what they've chosen. Again, 24 points. They have a 3-point unit of Axemen with a 1-point unit commander, a 2-point unit of Swordsmen, a 3-point unit of Bidowers with a unit commander, a 4-point unit of Light Cavalry, a 3-point unit of Bidowers with a 1-point unit commander, their Warlord on horseback alone, their Sorcerer on horseback alone, 2-point unit of Swordsmen, and a 3-point unit of Axemen with a 1-point unit commander. The Regal Guard Warlord chose, for his 5 points of equipment, Bodolf's Staff, so their Sorcerer will get 2d4 mana, a 1-point Banner of Courage, so that they, if they ever attach themselves to a unit, they and their unit will get to go first in close combat. Guardian Shield for a point, which gives him dodge, so he will re-roll any defense dice that miss. And an Arm Cannon for a point, so it gives him a ranged 8 attack. And then over here on the Lunar Knight side of things, we have a 4-point unit of Halberdiers, a 3-point unit of Crossbowmen, a 4-point unit of Men-at-Arms, their Warlord on horseback alone, kind of symmetrical opposite sides of the board from the Regal Guard, a 4-point unit of their own Light Cavalry, a 2-point unit of Swordsmen, their Sorcerer on horseback alone, a 3-point unit of Crossbowmen, and a 4-point unit of Halberdiers. For the Lunar Knight Warlord, his 5 points of equipment include the Amulet of Time, so he will get to attack twice a turn, a Squire that has his own 2 HP and 2d6 attack, and that includes being able to attack twice as well, since he has the Amulet of Time. And the Axe of Legend for a point gives him Assault, which means his, not the Squire's, but his own, the Warlord's, close combat attacks that he rolls 6s will explode. Any 6s he rolls will explode. Alright, so that is the Lunar Knights. This is the Regal Guard. Oh my gosh, can you imagine maneuvering through all this terrain? Alright, folks, this is gonna be something for Battle 7 in the City of Sympathy. We will be back after Regal Guard turn 1. Okay, folks, end of turn 1 for the Regal Guard. Just look at this. How cinematic is this? The Regal Guard moving through the city. Unreal. And that's basically their entire turn, was moving. So, of course, the axes are slow. They only have a base 3-inch move, so 2 actions of movement, 6 inches. Bidowers are much faster, but they kind of wanted to stay in line, especially over on this side. There's a lot of open ground over here. And then the Warlord zipped up. Now, before the Warlord zipped up, when he was way over here, he did, before the Axemen on this side had moved, he did attempt to Warcry them and give them an extra bonus die, but he did fail to do that. Swordsman moved up behind, so that's what this whole party over here is up to. Basically, this church is splitting things into 2 groups, and then we have Light Cav. I mean, look at this. They're over halfway through the city already. This is definitely the fast column right here. Bidowers following right in behind. The Sorcerer right in behind. Sorcerer, despite having Bodolf's Staff, which gives him 2d4 mana, only channeled 2 mana, which he immediately used on an enchant token for the Light Cat. Figuring they're going to be in the mix first, He wanted to give them a little support. And then, of course, those axes also moved up full 6. Swordsmen shuffled over in behind them as well for support. So this is what it looks like currently, just basically everything moving up. That church is kind of the halfway point. So now we will see what the Lunar Knights do in response. Turn 1. All right, folks. Starting on turn 2, things are going to get nuts. But here is the end of round 1, thus the end of turn 1 for Lunar Knights. So here's what they did. Slow-moving units, halberdiers, just like axemen. Also men-at-arms. They're also base 3 movement, so 6 inches of total movement. Both moved up. Crossbowmen filled in behind. Warlord zipped all the way up here. And before he did move that far, though, he did Warcry those swordsmen. He figures the swordsman up there maybe getting into action soon. Light Cav moved all the way through this gap right into here. Shuffled up close to the church so they wouldn't get a flank. Did not get involved yet. You can see just a bit of a gap there between them and the Warlord. So they're standing there. They wanted to be up far enough, though, so that the men-at-arms still had room to squeeze through there, which they do. This fountain's going to be really interesting, especially if the halberdiers can get to the axemen, or the axemen are obviously going to get as far up as they can. We'll see if those crossbowmen still have some room or an angle to shoot over that fountain. That is going to be a big deal. And then we have the sorcerer who moved up to there. He figures he kind of has a lane either way for right now of options for himself. He attempted an arcane duel, which the Regal Guard sorcerer did not. Typically, if a sorcerer has Bodolph's staff, that makes him just so valuable. So he really, typically, a sorcerer with that staff won't arcane duel because it could backfire. In this case, it was a tie, so neither sorcerer took a wound from the Lunar Knights' attempt at an arcane duel, but he did channel 4 mana, all of which he put into the flank of that light cav. Oh, you'll notice there's some wounds there. It was determined that, yeah, he was shooting into the flank of that light cav unit. You can see that there, how the line just barely passes through the flank side of that light cav. So it was a +2 to every die. He rolled not that great, though. Still ended up doing 2 wounds, which they did not use their enchantment token. They said, no, not on 2 wounds. They lost, so they lost a light cav there. Swordsmen, of course, moved up there. Over here, those halberdiers moved up as far as they could. Crossbows just shuffled up a bit. They had a shot at those light calves. So they shot, they did 3 wounds. They actually hit 6 shots. And light cav managed to block 3 of it. They didn't want to use their enchantment token on that either because 2 of the 3 remaining were 6s, and they just didn't want to do that. I think they really want to use that enchant token if things start looking really bad for them, or hopefully on an attack roll to really get a good attack roll. But, of course, moving and shooting meant those shots were with a penalty, but it didn't seem to matter because they still got 6 shots off. They rolled really well on that attack. So that is where the lines are drawn right now in the City of Sympathy. And we are now moving on to turn 2, back over to Regal Guard. All right, folks, here we go. End of Regal Guard, turn 2. Oh, my goodness. So a lot has happened. Axemen, we're moving up, and you know what? That Warlord of the Lunar Knights was just sticking out far enough that when they moved up, they came into contact with him, and, well, that'll be interesting to see what ends up happening here. I mean, these Axemen have a unit commander, so they're both very high initiative, so it'll be interesting to see just how that plays out. Axes like to take wounds. They get better the more wounds they take, so we'll see how that plays out. And then, so what do the halberdiers do? There's not really much room there for them to get involved. Crossbows may like that a little bit better. They have some room now to shoot. These light cav got really badly beaten. So the warlord backed up. He has that arm cannon, so he fired into them. These Bidowers fired into them. They lost half their unit this turn. Swordsmen moved in behind. These light cav were able to get a charge into these crossbowmen. However, they took more casualties. They used their enchantment token, too, to try to prevent that. They did take out a crossbowman, so we'll see what ends up happening there. Even though there's not a whole lot of light cav left, I still like their chances versus the crossbows. And then we had Bidowers fire into these swordsmen and do a wound. Let's see what else. We also have these halberdiers over here took a shot from the sorcerer. The Regal Guard sorcerer moved in over there and took a shot at the halberdiers, killing one of them. And then the swords and axes moved up over there. So, oh my gosh, just look at this. Just look at this. There is so much going on in this city right now. Close the windows, lock your doors. This is getting crazy. And we'll be right back with end of turn 2 for the Lunar Knights. All right, folks. End of round 2. End of Lunar Knights turn 2. Let's start down toward the bottom here. All right, so the warlord, stuck around, decided he was going to go after him. Well, his first attack did a number of wounds to those axemen, but his second attack was directed on the unit commander and wasn't able to kill him, only did a wound. Of course, they are now at 50% or less of their unit, not including the unit commander, which means they are now furious, strength +1. We had an interesting situation over here where the light cavalry decided to head out, make way for the men-at-arms. So their men-at-arms are moving in there, plugging in that gap. Now, of course, over here, and I know I'm bouncing around more than I was intending to, crossbowmen backed up. They broke away, ended up losing another crossbowman, fired, didn't do anything to those remaining light cav. And so these light cav that's kind of their goal, is to head over there and support those crossbows. So back over here, these halberdiers remain. These crossbowmen fired into the axes. The sorcerer stuck around. I think he shot, because he channeled 2 mana. He also, unfortunately, lost an arcane duel, so that's why he's down to 8 health. Channeled 2 mana. He's going to save it, so on the shooting phase, since he didn't cast a spell, he shot into the flank of the Bidowers. Didn't do a damn thing. And then swordsmen charged in, took some free volley shots from the Bidowers, and then in combat, lost big. Their unit is now cut in half, and the Bidowers still just a wound. That's it. The saddest part of all, though, were these halberdiers. Unfortunately, they just got cut in half. They did manage to kill a axeman, but that is it there. So not looking good there. All right, folks. Overall, that is how we're looking. We are now moving into round 3, Regal Guard. All right, folks. Turn 3 for the Regal Guard. And it's still kind of a toss-up. So over here, axes. Yes, the warlord did some serious damage there. However, in return, he's down to 6 wounds. We had some shots, a lot of shots here. The sorcerer moved over here, channeled some mana, took a shot at the men-at-arms. The warlord, the Bidowers, they all took shots at the men-at-arms. Their shield wall special ability really saved them. They did lose a single man-at-arms. Over here, Bidowers didn't do too terribly much, but in return, the swordsmen did nothing. So it's like a stalemate over there. The light cav took out another crossbow. Crossbows didn't do anything in return, not necessarily unexpected. Up here, halberdiers just losing badly. Actually, I think they only took a wound, which of course was still enough, though, to kill one of the halberdiers. In return, they focused their entire attack on the unit commander of the Axemen and killed him. So at least that's a victory point there. So I think overall that is it. So now, bottom of round 3 with turn 3 for the Lunar Knights. Okay, folks, bottom of round 3, so end of turn 3 for the Lunar Knights. A mixed bag. We had no progress here. Men-at-Arms charged in, but Bidowers having polearm means they got to go first anyway. And they did a wound, but in return, we focused all the Men-at-Arms attacks on the unit, ignoring the unit commander, because, you know, they're already within 6 of the Warlord, so they're going to be having an initiative bonus of 5 for a while. But they did nothing back. The Bidowers just had a fantastic defense roll. Down here, a combination of crossbows and an attack by the Warlord finished off that unit of axes. The halberdiers moved up because they were anticipating that, so we're going to kind of try to sweep around this way. Sorcerer shot a blast into those Bidowers, killing one, finally. The swordsmen braced themselves. These halberdiers braced themselves. Light cav charged into the remainder of that light cav, which allowed our crossbows to back up without penalty. Crossbows fired into that light cav, killing one, and then in close combat, our light cav finished off those light cavs. So, here's the dead pile so far. We've killed... I keep saying we like we are the Lunar Knights. So, the Lunar Knights have destroyed one entire unit of axes, one entire unit of light cavalry, and 2 unit commanders. And that is pretty much it. Those other stragglers don't count really much for anything. But hey, that is 9 points. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Compared to, looks like 4 points so far because of these 4 halved units. This side of the battlefield's looking pretty rough for Lunar Knights. Cut in half halberdiers, cut in half swordsmen, cut in half light cav, cut in half crossbows. But we'll see what ends up happening, because it is now Regal Guard, turn 4. We are now halfway through the game, round 4. Alright, folks, and that was the end of turn 4 for the Regal Guard. The Warlord, who has a ranged attack, and the Sorcerer lined up like that. I mean, this is just cheese. Since they can shoot through friendly units not engaged, and they get +1 to flank attacks, and the Pyro Storm Blast of the Sorcerer is already +1, so shooting it into the flank is a +2. So he's channeling mana, shooting whatever he channels into their flank at +2. Warlord's a +1, +2 into the flank with his ranged attack, so they're both shooting +2s into the flank of this Men-at-Arms unit, and the Bidowers are also attacking, so the Men-at-Arms unit is just suffering so heavily right now. The Swordsmen see the writing on the wall, they're heading around this way. Then back over here, kind of a stalemate. I don't think anything happened to the swords. I think they blocked it all. Maybe took a wound. I can't remember if that wound was there or not already. But they're slowly chipping away. Swords did a wound back to the Bidowers, who already had a wound, so that's 1 less Bidower. And these axes did a wound to the Halberdiers, but in return the Halberdiers did 3 wounds to them, so that's looking a little better. But those Halberdiers are also still pretty much, not looking the best. So now we are going to head over to Lunar Knights, turn 4. Alright, folks, bottom of round 4, Lunar Knights, turn 4 has concluded. We moved the Warlord into the flank of these Bidowers, which gave those Men-at-Arms free rein to back up. We just did some repositioning here. Crossbows shot into the Bidowers. The Sorcerer moved, shot into the Bidowers. The Warlord charged into the Bidowers. The Bidowers are still standing, though, so that's kind of disappointing, and that's what's happened down here. Up here, we braced ourselves with the swords, moved the crossbows over, charged in with the light cav. Foolishly did not brace with the halberdiers. I thought maybe they could get a shot in, but no, the axemen focused all their attacks, killed the halberdiers, only took, I think, a couple wounds in return from the light cav there. So that's how that looks, and we are now moving into round 5, starting with Regal Guard. All right, folks, second to last turn for the Regal Guard. Man, they almost pulled it off. Shots, shots, shots. That was almost a 9-point swing there. We had Bidowers break away without penalty, taking shots at the Warlord. We had their Warlord taking shots at the Lunar Knight's Warlord. The Sorcerer channeled 8 mana, directed it all into the Men-at-Arms. Only a wound left there, only a wound left on the Warlord. Swordsmen continue to move down. Looks like they won't be able to do anything with only one single turn left. Up here, a little bit of back and forth. The Swordsmen dedicated all their attacks on that unit commander, only put in a wound. No wounds on the Axemen. Light Cav didn't do anything, but they took a wound. So now it is Lunar Knights. We'll see how far they go to protect themselves now that they have very, very bad looking odds right in this part of the city. So here we go. Turn 5 for the Lunar Knights. Alright, folks, end of turn 5, end of round 5. Just damage control, basically, by the Lunar Knights. And I have a feeling the Regal Guard are going to attempt some damage control of their own. So, crossbowmen moved up, halberdiers shifted over, and crossbows fired, as did the Sorcerer into those Bidowers, hoping to do enough to at least kill off the unit commander, do enough wounds so that he would then be the next to fall. But they did kill one Bidower, but the unit commander's still there. Warlord with a wound is now hidden behind a building. There is just no way logistically anyone on the Regal Guard side of things with range, even the Sorcerer, can get to him at this point. Same with the Man-at-Arms. He's hiding over there with a single wound left. That's 3 points right there, just sitting there. We braced ourselves with the Swordsman, braced ourselves with the Light Cav, shot into the flank of the axes with the crossbows, killed another axeman. And that is pretty much it. And we will now go into the 6th and final turn of the game with Regal Guard. Okay, folks, this is the end of round 6, not just Regal Guard turn 6, but the entire round, because after the Regal Guard turn, when they couldn't make up the points, it was basically game over. So I just played out the Lunar Knights turn as well. Now, I could be wrong, but let's recap. On the Regal Guard phase, they lined up here with their Warlord and their Sorcerer, because, you know, the Lunar Knight Sorcerer wasn't looking too good. So that's a lot of shots there, potential for 8, mana channeling shots. Well, between the two of them, they managed to get the Sorcerer down to 3 HP, but unfortunately that was, of course, not enough to kill him for those points. The Swordsman backed up. They didn't want to lose any more points there. Bidowers backed up. They didn't want to lose those points. They essentially had still some options with the Axemen against the Light Cav, except actually, no, I don't think they did, because they only had 2 Axemen left. That's a total of 4 wounds. That Cav unit still has 5 HP. So I think they braced themselves, but they absolutely had to kill these swordsmen here. Unfortunately, they did not, but the swordsmen did finally kill off that unit commander. And then on the Lunar Knights phase, the Light Cav didn't even get to go. The crossbows, all 3, hit wounds into the flank of the axes, killing them. And we actually had the Sorcerer and this unit of crossbows all shoot into the Warlord. The sorcerer channeled 4, and so that could have been death for the Regal Guard Warlord, because that's 6 shots there, plus a 4-die Pyro Storm from the sorcerer, so that would have been 10 wounds if they all hit, but they of course didn't. The Warlord only took a wound, but at least he took a wound, but then that's where the battle ends. Right there. So let's calculate the points in the City of Sympathy. So here we go. Here's what's left of the Lunar Knights army. They still have half a unit of light cav, half a unit of crossbowmen. I can't believe it, but these swordsmen are still hanging around. The banner bearer of the men-at-arms, and that's 3 points. Of course, it would have been 4 points, but since they did cut the unit in half, that meant that they scored a point for that. So, but there's still 3 points left on the table with that 1 wound, 5 points left on the table with the 1 wound of the Warlord. Of course, Lunar Knights played very recklessly with him. He didn't have any special defensive abilities or anything, so in all honesty, if the Lunar Knights were playing to keep him alive, they probably would have played a little more conservatively. But as you can see, here's an entire unit of crossbows still there. Here's an entire unit of untouched halberdiers. So, and that's 4 points. That's 4 points. That's 3 points. I mean, good God. So here is the Lunar Knights' leftover army. So what did the Regal Guard kill? Well, they killed off a 4-point unit of halberdiers. And that's it for entire units. That was the only entire unit they were able to kill. And then they also scored. So that was 4 points. And then cutting these units in half was 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's it. 4 points for the halberdiers. 4 units cut in half, a point apiece. So that's 8 total points. And then the Regal Guard. They still have their Warlord looking good with 9 HP. The Sorcerer ended up taking some damage during the battle, leaving him at 6 HP. This unit of Swordsmen, untouched. Cut in half or more was this unit of Bidowers. This unit of Bidowers remains with more than half, so no points scored there. Also, no points scored for this unit of swordsmen. I don't know if anyone remembered they were even back there. They were back behind those axemen, giving them support, and that's one of the keys. See, I think where the Regal Guard went probably a little soft were the heavy-hitting units. Because when you have this much terrain, as gorgeous as it is, these streets are pretty narrow. And so you had these blocks of troops stuck in the back, unable to do anything. Where those points could have been used to, instead of being Bidowers, they could have been halberdiers, or they could have been, flail bearers or something. Should have been some flail bearers in this army. Now, to their credit, they did have some unit commanders, which definitely helped out. Let them go first on numerous occasions. But of course, they were a point apiece. So, in the end, how many points did the Lunar Knights kill? Well, 3 points for those axes, 3 points for those axes, 4 points for that light cav, 3 points in unit commanders, and 1 point for cutting that unit of Bidowers in half. So that is 14 total points. 3, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14-8 is the final score, with the Lunar Knights gaining the victory. That's unfortunate for the Regal Guard's reputation. Because don't forget, because we're going to move all this out of the way so we can apply the stickers. Because up until now, the Lunar Knights... Oh God, what happened here? This little number 3 sticker moved. Well, that is concerning because, you know, I think it's staying there now, even though it's kind of tilted at an angle. Okay, anyway, getting distracted. Because up until now, the Lunar Knights were known for being the army that, you know, won battles in the woods or in the ruins. Or the Regal Guard were the ones who were able to win battles in civilized areas. So this one really kind of changes all that. So here we go. Let's get the tripod situated here. So that we can put a sticker on the City of Sympathy. Can you believe it? Lunar Knights victory. Lunar Knights 14 points. Regal Guard 8. 8 points. And this was battle number 7. 1 week we have been doing this. This was the 1 week anniversary of battle reports. And the Lunar Knights are back in it, you know. We saw the Regal Guard just most recently win here, and we thought, okay, the Regal Guard are back on track, maybe. Well, this shows that maybe not. I mean, in this battle with all these buildings blocking line of sight, maybe a catapult may have been a wise idea. Of course, we may have ended up seeing something like this happen if the catapult was actually involved. But all right, folks, there you have it. 14-8, Lunar Knight victory in the City of Sympathy. Sympathy Mana. All right. That is another Battlefields of Mana battle report. Folks, check out my main YouTube channel, Rick Koeppen, where I post a daily dice advent calendar unboxing. Also check my vlog channel, SupremeYDNAC, for daily hoodie countdown, my 31 favorite hoodies. Those channel names will be in the description below if you need to see how to spell them or whatnot. But otherwise, stay tuned to this channel for more daily battle reports for Battlefields of Mana. All right, folks, thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it, and until next time.